Brilliant time.
Hmm.
Cool. Let me let's get this. Right, let's get ready to rumble. Make sure that line's right. Hello and welcome to another episode over on Louis 11. Today we're going to be previewing the Fulham game tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, which is, a bit of a different kickoff time.
Yeah, we've not
Saturday.
had that in a while, other than the midweek ones.
Yeah, like you see midweek 8 o'clock, you see midweek 7:45, but yeah, a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, you can really tell that like COVID's taken its toll with all these fixtures and everything. So yeah, Hamish has joined me as always. How are we, mate? What are we thinking?
Yeah, not bad. Good to get back on the winning trail after the derby disappointment against Southampton with like a really attack-minded and kind of worryingly open game, because Southampton did have a lot of chances as well, and we weren't very good first half, but it was very good to get the win and the 5 goals.
Yeah, exactly. Like really big wins. So I know, obviously, like you mentioned, they did play well, and they still managed to get 2 goals past our like solid defense this season. So impressive from them, and especially James Ward-Prowse in the middle for them. I mean, just proving more and more people his ability really. But that being said, performances all round really from City. I mean, I feel like Foden went under the radar a little bit because everyone was thinking about Mahrez and De Bruyne taking the headlines, but Foden with the 2 assists.
Yeah, I thought Foden was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's what I mean. When you look at it from a fan perspective, it's interesting for you to say that, because quite insightful that you picked up on it, because a lot of, do you know what I mean? You see the headlines with like Mahrez stealing the headlines because of his 2 goals, or De Bruyne getting a goal and assist, things like that. All I thought, Southampton game, like the energy he provided and what he added to the team kind of shows why he should be starting most weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, good win. Anyway, like we said, moving on to the Fulham game tomorrow night. Like we were discussing before, Hamish, that it could be a potential like banana. I'm gonna have to edit that. That was poor.
Banana skin slip up.
I think that's the first time I've slipped up for ages on a podcast.
Yeah, I know, we've been doing quite well with that.
It's right. Yeah, like I was saying before, Hamish, it could be a potential banana skin kind of in the road at the moment. I know we lost to United and the win run's like nothing to obtain anymore, but obviously you see the performance they put up against Liverpool, they could potentially do the same against us. What do you reckon?
Mm-hmm. I think Fulham kind of shot themselves in the foot earlier in the season with, really terrible form to start with. It looked like they were certain to go down, but then Parker kind of changed it up a bit, got them playing really well, because they've got a really, I wouldn't say deep squad, but some of the talent they've got there is definitely Premier League quality. So they've clawed themselves back into the fight for survival. I think we should have enough to beat them, and Pep definitely won't underestimate them, but it could still be a tough game if they perform the way they can.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've picked up their form drastically recently, and they're really proving to people that they actually can stay in the league and they can stay up. And I'm sure I've heard your comments about like Newcastle before and people like that, like Palace, those sorts of teams who managed to somehow stay up every year. So
it's a bit of a travesty that it's like Fulham and Brighton that are in the relegation battle when you got teams like Newcastle and Burnley and Palace playing the way that they do.
I know, it's like, I do know what you mean, because Fulham play the same football like seemingly every year now with Steve Bruce in charge. Boring football, 5-4-1. Somehow like cling on to games or somehow win, and sometimes they'll just drop a random masterclass as well. Like they beat Southampton not so long ago, like 3-2 or something like that, and that came out of nowhere. But yeah, Fulham actually playing quite good football for their position in the league, I'd say. So yeah, definitely could be tough. A lot of key threats for them too. But as always, like moving on to the predicted lineup for City, this is always where it gets quite difficult. But we've come close with a few of these.
Yeah, I think the defence we've been quite consistent with, but it's just the rotation in like midfield and up front is kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, the midfield and I think it was the West Ham game where we got like 5 or 6 correct.
Yeah.
The amount of changes Pep made, it was ridiculous. But this one a little bit more confident, hopefully. So obviously Ederson in goal, and then back line from like right to left. What are we thinking?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Cancelo come back in. I feel like maybe Zinchenko's been very good recently. He had obviously, as I said, we weren't great in the first half against Southampton, but Zinchenko was one of our better players then. Obviously, we improved in the second, and he was still good. and he was one of our better players in that disappointing game against United. So I think Zinchenko might be afforded a rest because we've got Gladbach in midweek, don't we? The second leg.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have Walker and Cancelo as the fullbacks.
Yeah, I think that could definitely work. Walker and Cancelo. Like Cancelo on the left and Walker on the right? Yeah. Oh, that's a bit of a stupid question, actually. Imagine Walker on the left suddenly. Yeah, in the middle. Do you reckon Stones will come back into the side?
Yeah, I feel like Diaz is probably due a rest. Like Diaz plays all the time. And although I don't think Laporte had a very good game against Southampton on Wednesday, like it's possible that Laporte drops out, but I think Stones is probably the most likely of our defenders to play. It's just whether Diaz is actually given the rest or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like his fitness is unbelievable. Right?
Yeah, he plays like almost every game.
Exactly. It's the only name on the team sheet that you like. He's definitely going to start. And him and Ederson. Other than that, anything can change really at this point. But I don't know. It's difficult. Like I think, Stones is the obvious one that surely should start. Although you still never know. And then alongside him, like I want to say Diaz because Diaz doesn't drop out, but then Laporte's a fair shout as well. Although we haven't seen Stones and Laporte very often this season.
Yeah, I think the Spurs game was the first one in a while, wasn't it? And that was just because Diaz was recovering from that illness. Yeah,
exactly. And he actually was ruled out. So I don't know. What do you reckon? What do you actually think overall?
I think I'd probably, I don't know. In my post that I've already prepared, I said Stones and Laporte, but it could go either
way. Yeah, I mean, let us know what you think on that because it's quite a good point. Normally, it wouldn't be this difficult, but given the run of games with Diaz and the fixture congestion we've had recently, would make sense for him to drop out. But onto the midfield. Do you think you could see Rodri holding it?
Yeah, I'd imagine Rodri will come back in. He got his rest in midweek.
Yeah, Rodri would make sense. Just in front, and obviously always does a consistent job. And then the two creative players in front, it's like always quite on the difficulty of choosing this.
Yeah, De Bruyne and Gundogan probably are both in need of rests, but I think Gundogan maybe more so. I can't really think of... well, De Bruyne came off in midweek, didn't he, for Aguero? So I think we'll see. Bernardo and De Bruyne.
Bernardo and De Bruyne. Yeah, I think that's fair enough, and that makes perfect sense. To be honest, I was going to say the same in terms of coming off as a rest. I was going to say the same for Mahrez because he came off after 60 minutes.
Yeah, he did come off very early, which suggests that Pep wants to save him for this. But you'd surely want Mahrez with the form he's in to start against Gladbach. So I don't know.
True.
If Ferran's played very little recently. Maybe Ferran will play. And Sterling also probably won't be dropped for 2 games in a row. So I think Sterling and Ferran are probably most likely out wide.
Sterling and Ferran, it makes sense. It's just incredibly harsh to drop. Well, not drop, but seemingly drop to other people. Foden and Mahrez after the game they had in the week.
Yeah, Foden might play because Foden didn't play for ages before he played against Southampton. So yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, no, I definitely think Foden could play, but yeah, like you say, to be honest, Sterling and Mahrez Sterling and Ferran Torres is a good shout because like you say, Sterling won't be dropped 2 games consecutively unless Pep really has suddenly dropped his favoured kind of Sterling playing every game or Sterling playing most games, and then like you say, Ferran as well. Obviously, he hasn't played for a while, so it'd be good to get him out there. But with that being said, then would you think that Jesus will come back into the side up top?
See, that's the thing I'm debating because I have no idea who's going to play up front. I think you could make a case for Aguero, Jesus, or a false 9. In my post, I said Aguero, but I made that last night, and I don't know because there's this whole thing that was coming out. I can't remember if it was a credible source or not, but about Aguero being like annoyed with the amount he's playing and stuff like that, and wanting to get involved more. And I really can't see him starting in the Champions League. So this would be the ideal time to give Aguero a start. But it's just about whether Pep plays Jesus tonight and then a false 9 on Wednesday, I think. Yeah,
Wednesday.
So, yeah, no clue. But just for the sake of the video and for the sake of my own personal hopes, I'd say Aguero.
To be honest, Aguero is a really good point. And obviously we saw him come on in the week for 20 odd minutes. So
he looked okay. Still a few unsecure touches and things like that, but that's what's happened when you barely play for a year.
Yeah, exactly. That's there is, like you said, there is a good case for him. Obviously, to assess him properly and see if he can like continue at City, and with the contract negotiations ongoing, it's a kind of a perfect test. And that as well, I think that the fact he did come on shows signs that they could be preparing him in order to start on Saturday, just to get him.
Yeah, hopefully.
But with Pep, you honestly never know. Because when you was thinking about the front three, then when you said Ferran and Sterling, obviously it's a really good shout, and I was thinking, yeah. And then when I started to think about it, I was like, we could still play that false nine, so Foden could still start as that false nine. Him and De Bruyne just interchanging, but even Bernardo,
or even Ferran up front.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, that's a good point. Ferran up front. Never know. Yeah, Ferran. It's so weird with Ferran, though, isn't it? It's an interesting topic, and I was going to bring this up not so long ago, but barely played recently. It just makes you wonder a little bit.
I think he's been pretty shaky since he came back from COVID. Not really as sharp as he was earlier in the season when he had that good run playing up front when Jesus and Aguero were both out. But I think he's still got potential. He's just a little rough around the edges at the minute. It's just we've got better options that are playing well just now.
Exactly. And when you've got, like Pep said at the start of the year, it's the first time he said this for ages, or for at all, in fact. The fact that if you play well and there's not a congestion of fixtures, and you will keep your place, like we saw with Stones, and they've mentioned that a few times, but obviously he never used to do that, did he, really? He used to just rotate it depending on what he thought. So I think that has kept Ferran out the team as well. But it's just interesting, isn't it? Because he had such a strong start to the season. Since COVID, his season's kind of just, it was like this, and then it just dropped off massively. Obviously, the injuries, like the pause in it, but then it's just dropped off. Like, when was the most recent time we even saw him start? Because I can't.
West Ham, and he was, in my opinion, awful.
Yeah, I was about to say the most recent start he was poor for. West Ham came off, got brought off and everything. Yeah, that was a poor game for him, really. I mean, it was a tough game to start in fairness, but
yeah, you can understand it, but it's just he doesn't look confident in his dribbles just now. Like when you see him going up against a man, he's just doesn't look like he's going to be able to beat him or anything like that. Yeah, he's still like a good finisher and everything like that, but it's just not in form at the minute. Yeah,
no, you'd like to see him come back to it, and I think this is a good opportunity to start against. Obviously, Fulham are low down in the table, and will dominate the ball, obviously, so be a good opportunity for him. But quickly moving on to Fulham, I know you said just before, Hamish, that you admire them quite a bit, the football they play and some of the players they have. Who are you thinking in particular in terms of that?
Yeah, when you look at them, you think realistically they should be a mid-table team with the setup they've got. Like they've got a strong defence with the partnership with our former player Tosin, and next to him, Joachim Andersen's been really good since he came in. Kenny Tete as well at right back, and then the midfield they've got so many good options. Like I really like Lamina, I like Zambo Anguissa, who doesn't even get a start most of the time, and they've got Harrison Reed from Southampton on loan, or I can't remember if they bought him permanently or not, and then Loftus-Cheek as well from Chelsea, and then up front maybe a bit weaker, but still Magis had a good start for them. And they've got like Decordova, Reed and Lookman and people like that. So all over the pitch they've got threats, but they've just not been able to click properly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you go through the caliber of those players, and I think most of those would get into like bottom half Premier team. Like, do you know what I mean? A lot of them would get a spot and start in the team. And like you said, the partnership at the back, Tosin, obviously, we know quite a bit about, did well at Blackburn, used to play for us and everything. Shame he didn't make it, obviously, but he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I would have liked it for it to work out for him, because he seems a really good guy. And obviously, he's got his big break in the Premier League and he's doing really well. So if they do go down, I'd still expect Tosin to be a Premier League player next year. Yeah,
100%. And I think, even like you said, even if they go down, I think why not? Someone could sign him. Someone could bring him in to obviously test him out and see what he's like. And then what I was going to say as well, that Andersen got nominated for Player of the Month, just gone, didn't he, as well? So obviously did a good job at the back for them too. And then you look past that, and all the players you mentioned been doing well. And then like Lamina, who hadn't been quite as good, then scores a really good goal against Liverpool. So it's like,
and then up front, Mitrovic can't even get in the team because he doesn't work for their system.
Yeah,
whereas previously he was like their main bright spot last time they were in the Premier League.
It's crazy because Mitrovic, there's always that obsession with the fact that, Mitrovic can't do it in the Prem. He can't do it in the Prem, this, that, and the other. And it's kind of continued, sadly, for him, because he's never been able to secure that first team start for Fulham. I don't know if he just isn't a Prem player.
Maybe not, but say you put him in Brighton's team, he'd probably succeed because they need a goal scorer, just pure and simple.
Yeah, true.
And he just doesn't work for Fulham's like flowing attack, so they prefer like Cavallero and all sorts up front.
Yeah, I mean Caballero's doing well as well, but like you said, Josh Maja coming in, decent goal scorer. So yeah, Fulham got actually a lot of threats there, But rounding up, obviously the predictions, I've slipped off a little bit in the predictions recently. Need to kind of get back to it. But what are we thinking for the score?
I'd like to think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think Fulham will aim to keep it relatively low scoring because their goal difference is quite good compared to some of the teams around them. But I think we'll have enough. I think I'll go 2-0.
2-0, yeah. 2-0's a common City prediction this season, I always feel, because it's just the consistency, keeping goals out and then just getting a couple, not scoring a lot. But no, I can see Fulham actually scoring. I can see us winning the game, though. I reckon 3-1 City. Still confident, obviously, but I could see Fulham getting a goal, because defense hasn't. I think it's fair to say it hasn't been as solid of recent. So
no.
I think they could easily get a break and get a goal. So you never know. Could even go 1-0 down, come back. Be interesting to see what actually happens. But yeah, that just about wraps up today's video. Cheers everyone for watching as always. Appreciate the support. Like and comment if you are new around here. And let us know what you think about the sort of things we said and your prediction for the game too, because always interested to find out what people think. Hamish, cheers for coming on as always. I appreciate it. There will be a watch along tomorrow night, I think anyway. There should be tomorrow night. There wasn't one for Southampton because of other commitments and things like that, but we'll be back tomorrow, back with this preview too. See you all next time. Cheers for watching.
Thanks.